Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Before we get into anything, we are going to talk about him, but this show is dedicated to the memory of Boston, New England icon, Boston Red Sox play-by-play commentary, Jerry Remy. We're keeping Soapy Pre-Up out of the studio as usual, hoping that he doesn't try to come in here. I don't think he's going to. He is a coward. I'm not really too worried about it anymore. But my guest this week is J.R. Sexton. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Good to have you on. Let's get to know you just a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I'm from Rochester. I grew up in Rochester. Played sports there my whole life. Things are pretty good. Two pretty good parents. You know, life was good growing up as a kid. Always playing sports in the neighborhood led to, you know, playing baseball, football, basketball. You know, it's a pretty decent athlete, I thought, as a kid. So I haven't stopped.
Awesome. Now, did you go to Spalding High School?
Yeah, I went to Spalding High School. I played football there. You know, to get real with it, you know, school didn't really work out for me. I spent a few years there. I ended up, you know, beginning my life early, had kids early, went to work, got my GED and all that stuff. So, I mean, I enjoyed school. School was great. I played football there, and just didn't really work out for me. And so I went the other way, you know, started working early and working hard. Nice,
yeah. I know the Rochester area well. I mean, go up there from time to time. Obviously, not too far away from the seacoast either.
Right.
So it's like, what's that drive to Hampton Beach? It's got to be.
Well, right now I live in Dover, Rollingsford line, so it's like 20 minutes.
Oh,
you know,
not bad.
It's not bad. I lived in Portsmouth for a little while recently, like a year ago. Lived there for a couple of years. It was gorgeous.
Oh, Portsmouth. I love Portsmouth. I could just walk around that town, you know.
Yeah, everything was good about it. You know, we were close to everything. I was right by the highway. For work reasons, commuting reasons, Portsmouth's perfect.
Nice.
You can be in Maine in an hour, and you can be in Massachusetts in 20 minutes.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the thing about New Hampshire. There's so much that the state offers, no matter where you really are in the state. You want mountains, we got mountains. You want the beach, we got the beach. You want to go to the city, you can go to Boston. It's not that far away. You know, so
yeah.
Now, what we used to do just one thing that everybody should know about you, but now we do three. What's three things that everybody should know about you?
If they don't already know, I believe I'm a super hard worker. You know, I was brought up that way. You know, my dad had me working at a very young age. Another thing is I've always been a family man. Love my wife, my kids, my parents, my sisters, and very strong in my beliefs. If I believe in something, I'll fight for it to the end. You know, as far as like my friends, you know, I had an issue. I don't know, was it probably 6 years ago at the softball field actually. There was an issue that came up with the president of the league trying to tell me that I was using illegal players, and you know, of course, I get my books out, and I had played on like I think I was rostered on 9 teams that year, and you know, I had played I don't know, maybe thousands of innings that year. It didn't really matter to me, right? But the fact is, I was the coach of my co-ed team, and some of these people were committed to that, and that was the only team they played on. So he tries to tell us we can't finish our season, you know, you guys, because what happened is we ran out of light and we had to finish the game the next day. Well, somebody put a bug in his ear and this isn't going to happen, blah, 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 so on and so forth, and I lose my mind. And it wasn't for my selfish reasons, you know, 3 more innings didn't matter to me, but it mattered to me that all these other people on my team. So therefore, I stick up for him, and I was correct. We had to finish the game. My books were right, so on and so forth. I get suspended from the league for 3 years. Would I do it again?
That's excessive.
Yeah, yeah. So. Would I do it again tomorrow if it happened again? Absolutely, because you know I knew what was right, and I'll stand up for that.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, that becomes a big thing with, we've seen that in other leagues. It's like people qualify, they qualify, and yeah, you always have somebody questioning something. That's just like the softball world.
Yeah. It's ups
Unfortunately.
and downs.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, but some of the stuff you're just like, all right, guys, grow up,
Yeah.
So, no, I totally get that. But sticking with the theme of the show, which is Let Freedom Ring, and this is a question we ask everybody, and this question means different things to everybody, really. What does it mean to you to be an American?
I truly feel, blessed and lucky to have, not only been, born in the United States and to live in this country, but to be born and raised in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
On top of it all, one of the best states in the country. So I've been through a lot in my life, and I just really appreciate everything that I've been able to, have being an American. It's we're very lucky. See a lot of things. I met a lot of people. A lot of people in a lot of different places, and we're very, very fortunate. I mean, today, right now, things are a little crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, this whole COVID thing. I thought that was crap, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be honest. Like, when this all went down, this whole COVID thing, I was still working in Massachusetts every day, and they're like, "Oh, you can't cross the border, you can't go to these states, you can't do this, you can't do that," but certain people are allowed to, And then I got COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was like 10 days, 12 days of a fever, and I thought I was going to die. So it is a real thing. A lot of my guys I work with call it a plandemic, But no, it's a real thing. I dealt with that, through it, thank God. And I don't know what's up with the vaccine. I don't know the details on that, but I'm pretty sure everybody's going to have it at some point, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're starting to do like booster shots, and kids are going to get it. When you had it, now have you had the flu before?
Yeah, I had the flu, and the only time in my life I ever got the flu was when I got the flu shot.
Oh, really? I'm vaccinated, but I never had a flu shot in my life. Just never done it.
Yeah.
Would you say that COVID was worse than any flu that you had before, or would you say they're
no, honestly, I thought it
was
was probably the worst. I had the flu before, and like you throw up and you have to use the bathroom all the time and stuff like that. COVID was way worse because there was none of that for me personally. I just had a fever. I couldn't be upright for more than a half hour, 45 minutes. I had to lay down. And the crazy thing about that was, I don't know, was it maybe a month or two prior to that, we had an outing at my work, well, at my boss's house. And my boss was talking to me about softball and all these activities I do and all the stuff that I got going on. And he's like, "Man, you don't sit on the couch much, do you?" And I made a joke to him, like, "We have a couch?" Like, I don't sit on the couch. And it was like a couple weeks later, I got COVID. And I found out how the couch was, and being stuck in the house and having to have people deliver me food. And it was definitely a huge change of pace for me, and it wasn't a good time.
When though? Because obviously early 2020 was when it all started happening. Was this more recent, or was this still in 2020?
It was recent,
Okay.
right when the Delta variant came out.
Oh, okay.
And the crazy thing was, I was staying at a stayover job, and I was actually being housed at a suite in Braintree, Massachusetts. So I was in Massachusetts, living out of a hotel for 2.5 months, but it was not just like a regular hotel room, it was like studio apartment hotels.
Okay.
So people were living there. And I like I said, I don't know how I caught it, but I have a good feeling that it came from the hotel being,
Just someone had it in there.
Yeah, so, because, I mean, I don't know what your take is on hotels, but I found after staying in hotels multiple times for work that they're not that clean.
Yeah.
They're
No.
not nearly as clean as, it looks like when they make the bed.
Yeah. I can now even like really nice. I mean, how do you keep them insanely clean? You got people coming in and out constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the longest I've ever stayed in a hotel is maybe 2 nights, but I could see like just being there long enough. Who knows? Maybe 3. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like, at first it's fun, right? Because, you're going out and you're staying someplace different and this and that. But when you actually have to stay in a hotel for a week at a time for work, it's not a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I got very lucky this year, though, when I was staying down there. It's weird how it works, but a guy that was on my job site was playing softball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm staying in a hotel tonight. I'll come down and watch. I get there, and they're like, do you play? I'm like, yeah, I got all my stuff in the truck. They're like, can you pitch? I'm like, I love you guys. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I played softball down there pretty much all summer in Woburn, Mass. And even when I came back from the stayover job, I'd still travel down there because that's another thing that, I think people know about me, but if they don't, they should, that I'm loyal. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there.
Nice. Now, when you do have to stay on a site, like, are all your coworkers in the same hotel or like?
Yeah. So at this particular time with COVID and everything, we all had our own individual rooms, so I wasn't sharing a room with somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all end up at the same hotel, and I mean, and that was another thing. We went to the same place we're actually going tomorrow, Supercharged Entertainment, and we went down there and raced go-karts. So I mean, the whole COVID thing, it could have came from the hotel, it could have came from there. I know that Massachusetts was definitely a hot spot.
Yeah. In those bigger cities too, like I've always, like even living in Merrimack, like I'm still like, we got a lot of people, but not. It's not Boston. Boston, you're on top of each other. All these big cities, you're on top of each other. If there's a sickness, everybody's gonna get it because where do you go? You know? So, but no, very interesting. That's a good story about having it. I have not, to my knowledge, had it. I've never had a test on it, but I've never, since March 2020, I've not been. I don't know the last time I had the flu, but I know I haven't been like sick. I get allergies, but that's about it. So.
I mean, I lost 20 pounds.
Oh, jeez.
Couldn't smell, and that was the thing, right? So I knew I was sick, like on a Tuesday, and I thought that so it was middle of summer, so I thought that like I had pneumonia or something from going from 90-degree weather into the truck with AC on ice cold.
Yeah.
So I thought I got myself sick like that. But it was like a Thursday night, and me and my coworker went to Target, and somebody had told me like if he couldn't smell bleach when he had COVID. So we go to Target and I open the bleach container and I handed it to him like, you smell that?
Yeah.
He takes a big old whiff and starts choking to death.
Yeah.
And something might be going on here. I can't smell, I can't taste, I can't eat. Yeah, I lost like 22 pounds in 12 days.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I've heard about people losing smell and taste, but I never really have bought it. I was like, oh, okay. But I guess that's a thing.
Yeah, so I brought it home to my wife, my son. They didn't have it like I had it for the amount of time. But my wife still has trouble smelling. Her sense of smell is almost completely gone still. So it's going to take a while.
And I do think it does affect different people different ways for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I think it does.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be shocked if I like had COVID before and nothing happened, and then a different person it affects totally different.
Yeah, because people test positive and they don't have any of the symptoms sometimes.
Yeah, the whole thing's been not something I ever thought we would live through. Obviously,
right?
you know, it was probably the last thing I thought. Getting to current events, we did dedicate the show to Jerry Remy. I know we talked a little bit off air about it. Any thoughts on him just as what he means to New England?
I mean, I know that it's been a big thing on the news, on Facebook. I've seen a lot of stuff about it. More of a, from what I gather, he beat cancer like, what, 7 times or something like that?
Yeah, last like 12 years, I want to say.
Yeah, crazy. And like fighting cancer is insane. I mean, I've dealt with it in my life, and I've seen a lot of people, in my family die from cancer. And for somebody to beat cancer 7 times is crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that's the toughest part. I mean, I'll never forget just Jerry Remy and Don Orsillo every night on the Red Sox. Like, you put on the games, and Jerry would just be very funny with the way he was and the comic stuff that they would do. And they would make the games just very more interesting. I thought they were great. When they got rid of Don Orsillo, I was like, serious? You're really just going to let this guy go? But Jerry Remy was like home. Putting the Red Sox on a summer night is like home to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a good announcer makes it what it is anyway. It's actually kind of funny talking about that. When we were at the Beast of the East and you were announcing on my phone.
Oh yeah.
My mother's like, "Who was that guy? He did a great job." I'm like, I think he does that. More than just then, because it was spot on.
Yeah, I had a blast doing that. Someone left their phone out. I said, all right, I'll do a little play-by-play on this. I know J-Ro does the same thing. Obviously, I'm not my show's not about just softball, but he does his play-by-play is a little more adult-oriented, I would say, than what I was doing on there. I try to keep it family-friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But anyways, R.I.P. Jerry Remy. We dedicated the Game 6 of the National Pickup League to him the other night. I woke up Sunday and I heard that and was like, God, this one stings, because, like I said, Jerry Remy's that's New England sports. Hearing him on the play-by-play on NESN that was everything.
Right.
So I just want to address this real quick. Elijah Lewis, 5-year-old in Merrimack. This is absolutely heartbreaking. They do have, I believe, his mother and the boyfriend in custody. Looks like he was murdered. I cannot imagine. I'm not a parent, but I have a niece and nephew. I couldn't imagine if anything ever happened to them. Period.
Yeah. That's just unbelievably sad. How anybody could ever do that to a child. Anybody hurt a child. Man, it just looking back and remember when my kids were that small, it's like there's no way, like, I just don't understand how anybody could hurt a child, drugs, alcohol, whatever was involved, like, why would you drag the kid into it? That's just completely disgusting. There's nothing worse for me as a parent than seeing your kid get hurt.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine, like, physically hurting my child. Like, it's just, it's disgusting. And I hope, obviously they're sick people, the parents, and at this point, I mean, the child's gone, as sad as it is to say. Maybe there's some sort of rehabilitation for the people, that are still here, dealing with it, because I mean, it didn't just affect. There's all kinds of family members that must have affected.
Yeah.
And people in the community, worried about the safety of their children. I mean, this world's becoming crazy.
It's just so upsetting. There's so many people that were, in Merrimack that was aware of this child and everything, and like you said, it's not just hurting a child. You also, this was a child that, if the mother is involved in any way, you brought this child into the world and you were supposed to be his protector.
Right. And
the person that was supposed to be protecting them maybe hurt them and failed to do so. It's just absolutely sickening. And I just wanted to, R.I.P. to Elijah. This is just very sad, horrible story. And when it hits, Because you hear about these all the time, and then when it hits your own community, you're like, wow, like this is happening everywhere.
Right.
You know.
And the thing is, like, you know, there are plenty of people out there that cannot have kids that would have loved to have taken this child.
It's true.
You know, that's the part that really gets me, you know. There's plenty of people that can't have kids that would adopt a child and take care of them and give them the best of the best. And you know, for somebody to be that selfish and take a child's life, you know, hope justice is served at the end of the day, for sure.
Yeah, me too. But let's get on to some lighter topics. I know that one's kind of not so much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your softball career a little bit. How did you start playing softball?
Yeah, so like I said, I played sports my whole life to the best of my ability. And I happened to be, you know, I'm a mechanic by trade. I worked as an automotive technician for almost 20 years. I had a service advisor that said he was going to play softball. I'm like, you guys need an extra player? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. So I went there, and weird circumstance, like the guy that runs the team, I had issues with his brother in high school, and I'm like, oh boy, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah.
And I started playing, you know, I had to prove myself to earn a spot, this, that, and the other. Within a few years, I ended up taking over at, the league in Farmington, New Hampshire. I was I was the president of the league for 4 years, and things ran very well. I had the, you know, I was lucky to have my wife as the scorekeeper / she ran the league for me. You know, she did a good job, kept everybody in line, and won a couple championships, which was great. And then it just kept growing, you know. I started playing other places, ended up moving from, the Farmington League was kind of a smaller league, didn't have quite the talent that Rochester and Dover had. And then I went down to Rochester and realized, holy crap, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Like, I need to step up my game.
Yeah.
And the funny part was, we did pickup games on the weekends with families and stuff, and they were getting mad at me because I was in the outfield, and they're like, this isn't fair, because I had wheels when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I wasn't letting much drop in the outfield, so I started pitching. And, you know, I started to like it. It wasn't bad. So we ended up putting a team in Rochester Men's League, and we were horrible. But nobody else wanted to pitch because of people shooting middle.
Yeah.
And so I said, heck with it, I'll pitch. And once I realized that it was U-Trip and you could do all this funny stuff and you could pump fake and all these weird things, like, I'm in. You know, this is me. And so I played a lot between Rochester, Dover, Merrimack, and just the last couple of years, a lot of Manchester. And it's amazing out here how much softball you guys play.
Yeah, it is a lot of, like, because I've had Ryan on the show, the U-Trip director, and I mean, it really is like this area of New Hampshire. You go up north, they're not playing like that. Like, there's something about southern New Hampshire and softball. I don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah, I love it. Like, they have fall leagues, multiple fall leagues, not just one, you know. And then I played indoor in Derry last year in a bunch of tournaments. And I just heard that they're going to be maybe doing a pickup league at the Hooks Hit Sports Dome or something like that.
Oh, yeah, they're going to, that is talk.
I got to play there. That was amazing. That place was amazing, you know.
Yeah, if they do the right night, I'd like to play that. I mean, it's just, it is really big around here, you know.
And, you know, it's funny, since I was a kid, like, I actually grew up in a trailer park from the age of, like, 8 to probably 15 or 16. And, like, I had all the sports equipment. Everybody came to my house. All the games are revolved around, like, if we're playing basketball, or we're playing baseball, or we're playing football, or whatever. You know, I was the guy, because that's what I do. You know, still to this day, like, you know, it bugs me that my son wants to hang out in the house when he should be outside throwing a ball around, you know.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I feel like I'm still, you know, 12 mentally when it comes to, you know, wanting to play sports, because I would play every single day of the week, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't. All I do now is softball, but there's been years where I would, softball, volley, like in my adult life,
Right.
flag football. But since I tore my rotator cuff, I've just moved away from flag football. I run a turkey bowl. I'll play there. I won't play volleyball anymore, but softball is still one thing where I can still play. Like, I don't have to throw all the time.
Right.
But, like, volleyball, a lot of those motions, I'm like, yeah. And flag football, I don't want to get taken out again,
So, yeah, and knock on wood, I've been very fortunate with that. I've been hit with a ball pitching, a million times. But thank God I've never had any major injuries where, it took me out of the game or this or that. But yeah, I've been playing softball since I was 18 or 19 years old. So I'm 42 now. So I got like a few years of softball under my belt.
Oh, I already said I'll never really retire. I said they'll have to bury me at second base someday.
Right. And I always talk about it like, oh, next year I might stop. They're like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Honestly, that's where I guess this will get into it. What's your favorite part of playing softball?
So my favorite part is all of it, but no. I really enjoy pitching since they changed it up to the U-trip, and like even in ASA, I still like stand off to the side of the mound one way or the other. Always trying to do something different with the ball. So I mean, everybody loves to hit, but I was blessed with the chance to be a pitcher, and I happen to be good at it, and yeah. I love it, challenge, because I mean it's even harder. Like if you're a baseball player, you can go up there and just blow fastballs by somebody.
Yeah.
But slow pitch underhand, you got to try to do some really. I mean, to get an advantage as a pitcher, it's very hard to do. I mean, because it's still slow pitch softball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a pitcher. I used to pitch in my social sports like 10 years ago, and it was like there was only 4 teams in the league, so I was like, all right, I'll be a pitcher, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was trying to get it. I was just like, all right, hit this. But you do find that there are people like yourself that have just figured out how to be, for what you're doing, like how to mess people up with it.
Right. Throw it deep, in, out, up, down, curve, knuckle, this, that. I mean, just to keep it unpredictable the best that you can.
Yeah, it's not easy, and like you said, I mean, never know when the ball could come back at you. Do you have a least favorite part that you don't enjoy about it?
Yeah, I run a team. I run a co-ed team.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed with that. My boss pays for it. My company, it's sponsored. I have 2 least favorite parts, to be honest with you. One of my least favorite parts is being a coach. The fact that I put the team together and I pick the people, and you have to have extra people.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
Especially when you get deep into the summer and people are taking vacations and.
Right. So we're adults. It's not like it's kids baseball. It's adult softball. People have lives outside of it.
Yeah.
So then you got to carry extra people, and then when everybody's there, who do you pick to put on the bench? And I hate being that guy. Fortunately, the last couple of years, I'll like split the duties with somebody. I have my best outfielder lead the outfield and figure out their rotation, and then I take care of the infield. But my other least favorite part is commitment. I know if I sign up to play on your team, the world probably has to end for me not to show up. Yeah. Or something really crazy, because that's my thing. Like I try to be loyal and committed to anything that I say I'm going to do. So if I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to be there. And we had a really good team this year, and playoffs came, and people didn't show up.
I hate that.
And they're key players.
Yeah.
It was definitely disheartening. You play with 9 players, and and the thing was, we ended up playing in a bigger field because of the rain we had this year. This year was kind of a mess anyway with all the rain, especially
it's nonstop.
Especially at the fields we have in Rochester and Gonick. they hold water pretty good. So we got stuck on a bigger field with 9 players in the playoffs, and it was just it was discouraging, because I put a lot of time and effort into that as a coach, as the leader of the team, so call it, and when people don't show up, it's tough pill to swallow.
I do know that feeling, and when you're like, you have a game plan, and then all of a sudden last minute it's like, I gotta, and sometimes like, yeah, I gotta work late. Okay, I'm not gonna argue with someone about that,
Right.
It does get tricky. Just want to real quick on this. How do you feel that umpires are treated? I know there's been a lot of controversy lately about a few incidents that happened. Overall, what do you think of the treatment of umpires in slow pitch softball?
Well, I definitely disagree with how they're treated by some of the players, And it's a slow pitch softball game.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid to do it. But on the other hand, the argument from the people that are mistreating them, that the umpires are getting paid. The only thing I don't ever want to hear from an umpire is I couldn't see. Well, why am I paying you?
Yeah.
So they do have a job to do. They're getting paid, so they should be moving around. But at the same time, if there's a bad call made, you can voice your opinion, but to trash an umpire or, it definitely bothers me to see people mistreat umpires, because usually, from what I gather, a lot of them are ex-players that probably can't be out there running around anymore and have a passion for the game. How can you beat up that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I see it more. I don't see it often in Nashville where I play most of mine. Usually because the umpire that they assign has been there, or everybody's friends with them anyways. So you don't really see it. When I do see it, it's when the umpire comes in that nobody knows. So now they get the balls to yell at this guy because they don't know him. And it's like, oh, that's really easy for someone to come in and not know anybody, and you're all over them about, because they do things maybe differently than what you're used to. So I agree. I hate seeing that, and I don't think they'll ever stop it, but I'd like to see less of it.
Yeah, and I think that personally, my opinion, being a player of 20 plus years, I think that the umpires are too nice. They take too much.
Yeah.
If I was in that position, I wouldn't take as much as a lot of these guys do. You'd be gone, and I think you would have less of it if more people got ejected for how they treat people.
Yeah, and I think it's hard. I think too sometimes, because it is. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you're a B player, an A player, C player, whatever. It's all recreational.
Right.
So I think a lot of times that's where it comes down to, is they're like, well, I agree with you though. I think that it would just say, hey, you're out of here. I think the issue becomes too is you get these people that are like, well, who are the authority to do that? It's like, then it gets to the point where do we have to call the police if you won't leave?
Right.
It's tough. It is tough. We want to talk about a little bit, because when we promoted the show, we talked about your recovery. And this question's been asked to a bunch of, because we've had a lot of people in recovery on the show. What is the hardest part of being a dad, a husband, and everything else that comes with sobriety?
So, so I'll go into my background a little bit real quick. I grew up with a really good family, like I said. I had 2 older sisters. Life was pretty good. I got everything I needed. Not always everything I wanted, but I was taken care of. I swore I'd never drink or drug ever. I was an athlete. I would never, as a young kid, I'm like, I'm not even going to drink alcohol at my wedding, because I had seen, like, not in my particular household with my parents, but I had uncles and cousins that were heavy alcoholics. So I've seen some wreckage, if you want to call it, with them, and it's like, I don't want that, And of course, you get curious as you get older, and I drank a little bit, started smoking a little bit of pot. Things progress, like they say, So technically, it's really alcoholism. no matter how you look at it, people say I'm a drug addict, I'm this, I'm that. If you actually read the big book and do the 12 steps, you find out that it all is just alcoholism. It's a disease. Some people say it's a choice. I believe it's a disease that some people can drink, some people can't. It is what it is. But it got progressive, and I was actually, a youth sports coach. I coached my kids soccer, I coached football, I coached basketball, a little bit of softball for my daughter, helped with my son's baseball, and that was the most rewarding thing in the world, honestly. And when that got taken from me because of drugs and alcohol, that was a hit to the ego. It definitely, made things go down quick. And then I got sober, and honestly, with drugs and alcohol, I had no emotion. Like, I was happy playing sports, this and that, but there's no real deep emotion. So getting sober and all that coming back and realizing how I've affected other people, and it was really tough at first. And I don't care who you are. I was talking to a guy at a friend of mine last Friday, and I asked him when he was going to have some kids. He's like, I don't think I'm ready for that. I need this and I need that. And I'm like, listen, I don't care how much money you have, how much you plan that. You're never ready for a child. Like, you just never. As soon as you think you got it figured out, they're going to show you don't. Very fortunate. My kids have good heads on their shoulders. And getting sober, I went to a treatment center and I came out and life hit me in the face. When people are incarcerated or in treatment centers or in hospitals, however you want to call it. That's the easy part, because that you're okay. You're going to be fed, you're going to have a place to stay and all this and that. But then you come out to the real world and responsibility hits you, and you gotta start adulting again. I don't know if that's going to stay up.
That's a tough one to stay up.
Yeah. We'll put them on.
We'll leave Brian Pillman right there. Here we go.
But yeah, so it's crazy. I never thought that once I fell, and I think that's the same thing that a lot of people would say, because I don't know if you know much about Rochester, but Rochester can be a pretty rough town. It's got its very beautiful areas on the outskirts, but man, it definitely has some roughage.
I've heard, my buddy Matt Day grew up there too, and he said the same thing.
Yeah, so there's some craziness there, and so to get sober, I actually got sober in Rochester. A lot of people do the geographical cure and they move away and they're like, oh yeah, my life is great today. Well, I can go anywhere today, no matter where it is. There's drugs and alcohol. I'm not looking to use drugs and alcohol, and I tell this to a lot of people too. I think that everybody should do the 12 steps out of the big book, whether you're an alcoholic or not. Because it's completely taught me how to live life through a whole new set of glasses. My perspective on things is totally different. And now I try to, pass that on to my kids, and anybody that I come in contact with. There's just so much in life that we take for granted, and that's the biggest thing that happened for me, was going through life, making some mistakes, and it all started right at the beginning of high school. It didn't really get crazy till 10 years ago maybe, but making all these mistakes and then realizing there's a whole different way to look at life. I had all these thoughts and ideas and that I thought were, I'm always right, I'm always this, I'm always that, and things I took for granted. I took so much for granted. I felt like I'm entitled to have this and I'm entitled to have that, and I think that's a problem with a lot of kids these days in society, is a sense of entitlement. And I went through the program of AA, and I'm grateful just to be here today, talking to you, having a job, getting up every day, you know. So I've got a whole sense of gratitude that I never had before in my life.
Awesome. No, that's a good answer. We've talked about this a lot on the show. We've had a lot of guests, like similar stories that, you know, it seems like you do, you know, people need help sometimes, and it's not a big, you got to go find it, you know.
So I heard somebody actually talking about that, and it's like, you know, you just got to ask for help. It's not, you know, everybody thinks it's a sign of weakness, you know, I can't ask for help. And the other thing is, like, I'm not big on religion or this or that, but you know, a lot of the book talks about prayer and meditation. And, you know, now I go to church, and my wife and my son go to church. Not every single Sunday. You know, we have lives outside of that, but it wasn't a bad thing. You know, by meditation, if you would have pulled up a few minutes earlier, you would have caught me, because I was in a deep meditation in the truck before I came here, you know. That's you know, something I never would have thought I'd do ever in my life. You know, I always had a stigma with some guy sitting on a rock going, whatever, and you know, and that's not it at all. So yeah, and like being a dad, that's tough, especially if you have daughters.
Yeah.
You know, your daughter brings home a boyfriend. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like, is he good enough? You know, that's the first question. Does he do this? Does he do that? Is he, you know, does he know how to fix your car?
Yeah.
Can he, you know, whatever, you know, so that's tough. And then, you know, my son has a girlfriend, and, you know, we don't always agree with his decisions. And then I look back, and I'm like, I was that same kid.
Yeah.
You know, making those decisions, you know. And like today, I'm able to have a sponsor through the program of AA, and I sponsor other guys. So I still ask for help, you know, and I'm not too proud to ask for help, because I've learned that asking for help is only, it's a good thing. It's only going to help you.
No, I like that answer. No, that's good. Yeah, and I would say that to, you know, anybody that, you know, there are resources, you know.
Absolutely, and like today, there's way more resources than there ever was for like our parents and older people, and it's crazy. I see younger and younger kids coming into the program, and I'm like, man, I wish, you know, I hope for you guys, pray for you guys, because if this had been offered to me at 25 years old or whatever, you know, and I was kind of fortunate. You know, it didn't hit me hard until I was in my 30s, but yeah, there's a lot of resources, and people should definitely use them.
Awesome. Well, we'll get some fan questions and comments for you. First one, Josh Lee. We all love Josh Lee. JR is big time now. So he's a great guy.
You know, meeting him, I seen him play, and I was like, damn, that guy's good. You know, I just seen him make some plays, and then he hit the ball. I think the first time I actually met him was at your 4th of July, maybe, or something that you were running. It was the first time I actually met him personally, and the guy's a great ball player, very humble. And it's funny because, you know, I've played in a lot of tournaments with him since then, and you know, him making a joke about me being big time now, and it's just like, it's been a great experience, like I said, coming out here to Manchester and getting to play in all these other leagues, and, you know, meeting more people. So yeah, Josh Lee, he's a good guy. Like I said, I was playing with him last night. You know, he's a great player, good friend nowadays, and it's good.
And Josh, like you say, extremely humble guy. Cheryl Sexton says, that's awesome. Is that a family member?
That's my mother. So she's, you know, she's seen some stuff, you know, all the way up through. You know, I tried not to have my past, my wreckage affect my family directly. You know, I always kept it away from them. But, you know, now I know, after working through the program, that I've completely affected everybody around me. And it's just, you know, her and my father are so happy to see where I'm at today.
Awesome. Let's see, from Ron Dumont. So happy to see you enjoying life, brother. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. And then we got Steve Sprague?
Yeah, that's actually somebody that I played in that family softball league with back
Okay.
in like 20 years ago almost.
Yeah, he says, good to see you're doing well, my friend. He's 9 years sober for him in May. Congratulations on that, Steve. Keep up the good fight, kid. Neil Losey said, JR, heart 100%.
Oh, man.
Is that like a thing? Or
He's a co-worker.
Yeah.
We've had our battles at work, and yeah, you know, and actually he just had a stroke, and he's really doing well right now, so I'm happy for him.
All right, well, we're glad you're doing well, Neil. From Jared, oh man, Jared's name is tough. Lafreniere,
I believe.
Lafreniere, okay. I'm horrible with last names. Justin can attest to that. And my name's not easy to say. So, JR, can you please explain where your last name came from?
So it's funny, since he mentioned that, I kind of looked up, you know, I'm like, where did Sexton come from, you know? Because I've obviously gotten a lot of crap from that when I was, even as a child in school, my school teachers didn't even want to say the last name Sexton because kids would get all giddy and stuff like that.
Obviously, yeah.
But yeah, I actually finally did some research the other day, and I guess it's an English-French name, but and then there's a couple other meanings, like warden at a church or something to that effect. But yeah, and the other thing is, like, JR, my name is Jason, you know.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny because my son's name is Jason Jr., and if people call him JR, he's like, my name's not JR. And if people call me Jason, I look at him weird because I think of my son.
Yeah.
So my company that I work for currently, I'm not sure that anybody even really knew my name was Jason. Like, I worked for him like 5 or 6 years ago. Obviously, addiction happened, and, you know, that was another success story. You know, I'm back at this company 5 or 6 years later. I've been there for like 3 years. You know, they take good care of me. It's another, miracle from recovery. You know, I have a company truck. I run jobs. I'm a foreman. You know, things I never would have thought would have happened. You know, so yeah, things are good today.
Awesome. Like to hear that. We're going to just go quickly because I want to get into blank versus blank. First of all, shout out to the Atlanta Braves. First World Series since 1995. When I was a kid, we were watching the Braves on TBS every week because my parents didn't pay for Nessun. Or wouldn't pay for Nessun. So shout out to the Braves. I want to just get quickly, do you have any favorite sports moments over the years?
I mean, I don't know. There's just I'm drawing a blank on that, and I thought about that earlier, and I had some, and I'm like, what were they? I don't know. I mean, I definitely remember watching the Braves win the World Series. That was when I was in, like, middle school, and just before middle school, 5th and 6th grade, and we used to always play this wiffle ball game at recess. We had a teacher that he was like all-time pitcher, and he was a commentator, and he'd call us all, and he'd call me Griffey Jr. and this and that, and he had another kid, I forget what he called it was Cecil Fielder or something. We had, kept score for home runs and all that stuff, and but yeah, I was definitely a Braves fan as a kid. But favorite sports moments, I don't know. I really can't put one.
That's okay.
There's a lot of good ones.
That's okay. Well, I guess real quick, do you have any favorite movies?
I don't know if people think I'm weird, but I love Coach Carter.
Okay. Now, I get flack for this because Benny Bover, I don't know if you know Benny Bover, he's been on the show. He was on the show over a year ago, told me to see it, and I still have not seen it. So I need to get on that. I've been called out about this.
You haven't seen Coach Carter?
I don't know what it is where there was just so many Samuel L. Jackson movies that I skipped over this one, so I think I do need to see this.
Yeah, I'm a big time. I love underdogs. I love to see the guy from the bottom come out on top, and yeah, it's a great movie, and it's sports related, so it's right up my alley.
Yeah, I need to see that. Derek Dolan's called me out on this too, so I do need to do that. I'm a big sports movie fan, so I don't know how it's never happened. All right, let's get into blank versus blank here. I'm going to give you two things. You got to pick one. Tell me why. More responsible for the success of the New England Patriots, over the last 20 years, obviously not now. Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's got to be Belichick.
That's where I stand.
I think that Tom Brady has developed as a great, a player. His mindset, his everything is came from Belichick. I think personally, is he a great player? Absolutely, but without Belichick, I don't think Brady would have became what he is today.
All right, fair enough. Would you rather watch a movie in a movie theater or at home?
Not big on watching movies all the time, but if it's something hot, new coming out, yeah, movie theater.
See, I'm big on I love the theater. Love it. Was so sad when Cinemagic went out, but now they got something back in there, so yeah, I'm with you. Would you rather play co-ed or men's?
Whew. That's a tough one. That actually came up this year. I love men's, and I really enjoy playing men's, so I'd rather play men's for the competition. I have more fun usually playing co-ed.
And you get to play with your wife, too.
Yeah, so that's a huge thing, too, right? So I had an issue with the tournament team I played on this year because I went to a tournament with my wife and not them, which, at the end of the day, I made the right decision because you got to keep her happy. And, I had a great time. I got to play with Josh Lee.
Yeah.
And, he's I've had co-ed has definitely made a big turn this year for me. And I've had a lot more fun with it this year than I ever have.
All right, good answer. Would you rather play U-Trip or ASA?
U-Trip.
I think most people would say that, yeah.
Two reasons. I love the fact that I can pump fake and stuff like that, and the pitches are lower and flatter. And with the one downfall with the ASA is a lot of ASA that I've been playing is down here in this area, and they have the mat. The mat's great for the pitcher, horrible for the batter, so I love and hate the mat.
Understandable. Would you rather watch the Patriots or the Red Sox if you could only watch one for the rest of your life?
It's crazy. Crazy as it is. I love baseball. I love softball, but I would much rather watch football. I think that the only downfall of baseball after playing softball is it seems like a baseball game takes forever. And, after playing softball, the games are quick.
I've definitely kind of flipped over the years where I love the fact that, Sunday's always a big event, or whatever night the Patriots are on, it's like a big event every week, and there's only one game a week.
Right.
There's a bunch of Red Sox games where I'm not going to bother watching this tonight. There's 162 games. I don't care about this one.
Right.
All right, two really tough ones now. Very tough ones. Talking softball players here. Would you rather take Derek Brown or Bobby Bollier? Got to pick one. And I'm in a group chat with these two, so they're gonna they're gonna want to know.
Well, anybody that knows Derek Brown he's a stud.
He really, yeah. He
played I mean, I don't even understand why he was playing in East.
It was his first experience with anything softball, but I could see him playing at a higher level.
For sure. But I love these guys. I love all of them. It was I got separated from that team, which is what it is.
Yeah.
But and that's one thing I can say about them guys. Very proud of they stuck together. They played great ball all year. But Derek Brown is a stud.
Yeah, we always said it. Because we met Derek a few years ago. He's married to our good friend Tim's sister. It's the first time we met Derek. He talked all this and how great he was, and he actually could back it up.
Yeah.
So, and he's a hilarious guy. I want to get him on the show, but he's a little nervous about it. So we'll see what happens.
Afraid of what you're gonna ask him?
I don't know. I know we'll want to talk about how bad the Bears are. So. Last one. Would you rather take Josh Lee or Sam Borelli?
Oh, man.
And I use them both because they're both like in their early 20s.
Yeah. I love Josh. Don't hate me for this. But usually when you bring Sam, you get Brian and Ken, and you get the whole family with Sam.
Yeah.
But, man.
And these kids are like, they are like the future, like, because I think about it, it's like Josh is what, 22?
Right.
I think Sam's 22. Like, they're the up-and-comers, you know?
But no, I mean, honestly, though, I would have to take Josh as, if it was talent for talent, he's on another level.
Yeah.
Dude, I seen the guy throw somebody out from his knees in, what was it, Franklin tournament or something. I mean, he literally fielded the ball behind the third baseman from shortstop and threw the person out at first on his knees. It's like,
how does he do it?
Yeah, insane.
Yeah.
Last night he landed on his side, kicked the ball to his glove hand with his foot, and didn't get him, but it was an amazing play.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal player.
Both two great guys again.
Yeah.
But JR, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been an absolute blast. We'll have to have you back sometime. But everybody out there, keep your heads up. Have a great week, unless your name is Soapy Pre-Op. But until we see you next time, let freedom ring.